What's up, guys? Thank you for tuning in to the Uncommon Mindset podcast. Today I'm joined by the one and only Brett Johns. I'll just give you a brief background on who Brett is. Brett, the Pikey Johns, is a professional mixed martial artist with a record of 17 wins and only 2 losses. Brett is a former UFC fighter. His 2 losses have been against the number 2 ranked Aljamain Sterling and the number 6 ranked Pedro Munhoz in the bantamweight division of the UFC. Brett is now signed to the organisation Bellator, and I truly believe with the mindset and the dedication he has, he is going to make it to the top without a doubt. Not only is he a black belt in Judo, but he's also a black belt in Brazilian Jiu Jitsu. The future for Brett is looking promising, and he is definitely classed as an uncommon person. I'm so excited to be here today and to get the opportunity to talk to you, Brett.
Thank you very much. Yes, like I said, you know, bang on with everything. I was trying to think, is there going to be something here? Maybe no, it's bang on. But yeah, I can't wait for this year. Really, it's been like I was speaking to a few guys, and 2020 has been quite a tough year for most people. Yeah. I think, you know, career-wise for me personally, you know, I felt like it's been one of the better years really. So I'm looking forward to 2021.
Yeah, of course. No, for sure. We'll get into like 2020 and 2021 for sure. But just before we start now, can you just like take it all the way back now? Like when and why did you start mixed martial arts?
Growing up as like a little kid, I was quite a quiet, timid kid. My younger brother would bully me, so that just shows, like, you know, my younger brother was about, maybe my mother's got hundreds of stories of like when we were kids, and like she'd always say, like, you'd always get bullied by Ashley, you know. So I was quite a quiet kid, and I think that made my mother nervous. I think, you know, like I said, it's quite a cruel world out there, you know. And I was living in the Bont, which is quite a rougher place, you know, where I was living at the time, and I needed to be more streetwise. And I think my sister at the time was doing judo, which was in a primary school, I'd say about maybe a 5-minute walk away from my house. And then after a few years, when me and Ashley were old enough, then we joined up as well. And then eventually my stepfather, who was the sensei, Andrew Burt, and my mother got together. And yeah, I was living with them and doing judo until about 16, with aspiration for the 2012 Olympics. And it kind of fizzled out, I guess you could say, you know. I wasn't the best in the UK, I wasn't the best in Wales, I wasn't even the best in my own gym, you know. My best mate and one of the guys I trained with, Kyle, I'm the best man at his wedding, he's the best man at my wedding. Nice. But he was number 1 at 66s, which was a weight category I was fighting at, and he was absolutely incredible. The guy was mustard, he could walk on water like when he was on the mat. And I think when I started watching Kyle get his success, and how hard it was for Kyle, I kind of realised myself that it was an unrealistic dream. So after kind of like, I decided in about maybe 2010, you know, 2 years before the Olympic Games, that probably it wasn't the right decision to carry on doing judo. You know, I did do it, but it was for an MMA point of view rather than to compete at judo. I think I started training in Christian's Academy in about 2009, maybe 2010. And I did 2 years of training before my first fight. And you know, for me, my main goal in this sport was to win a belt, and that came along very quickly. So yeah, like I said, then I kind of give myself little goals in life, and then you hit the goal, and it's like, right, okay, what do I do next? That way, I'm never disappointed with what I can achieve. Then, you know. No,
of course, yeah. Sometimes a lot of people, they put goals too high, and then they find it really tough to hit, and then they just get demoralized and just don't do anything. Then
I see that more often now than I did years ago.
Okay.
I think the reason why I see that in especially in a lot of young fighters is because the Conor McGregor effect. I feel like, you know, people look at Conor McGregor at the top of his game, and then when they get there, they want to be him. So they instantly, that's their barrier. And if you don't reach your barriers, then you feel like you've failed. And that's something like I try and tell my fighters now. You know, the UFC wasn't an end goal for me. My roof when I first started was to become a Welsh champion / win a belt. I hit that roof within 5 fights. Then it's like, right, okay, what do I do next? I never give myself goals which are, you know, obviously I got a lot of confidence in myself to reach goals, but what I'm trying to say is, like, you know, if I'd started off and said, you know, I wanted to hit the UFC straight off the bat, maybe I'm probably like one in maybe 100 people, maybe more than that, that could reach that goal. And I'm very lucky because of that. taking the right fights at the right time and taking the opportunities that were given to me.
Yeah.
But like I feel like right now that a lot of the younger generation of mixed martial artists do strive for that like end goal, when they should just bring that barrier down a little bit, because and not only that, people don't reward themselves no more for winning fights. You know, it's like I know how many fighters, when I go up to them and I go, they've just won a fight, I go, wow, what's next? Next fight. Nobody actually sits down no more and says, oh, do you know what? I'm actually really happy with the performance. I'm going to celebrate. And because I do that every fight now, because there's such a big build up with fights. And I think back in 2012, I did about 8 fights in 1 year, and then now it's changed to being like 2 fights a year or whatever. So, but after every fight, you know, it's nice to chill out and enjoy with the family. But the reason why I'm like that is because I drop my levels down, and I think, okay, the next thing, my next goal is simple, is to win my first fight with a new promotion. That is it. And then after that, we can look for another one, you know? No,
I love that. I love that approach that you take. It's brilliant, yeah. Obviously, you went from, you know, being an undefeated fighter, 15-0, and then you fought Aljamain Sterling, you know, who's no joke. The guy is the best of the best up there. And that was your first loss. How did you take that, like that loss? Because did you feel like you had like a chip on your shoulder, or?
To be honest, that's another thing. I'm not like a lot of years. I'm not going to be able to say a story like, oh look, it was this and this is how it made me feel, because the loss itself, I never wanted to lose, but I was always prepared to lose.
Yeah.
This is a sport where 1 in a million will finish undefeated. Habib being an example, you know what I mean? And there's so many ways of losing a fight, and I never said I had a massive ego. I will say, going into that fight with Aljamain, that I went into the fight firstly with the wrong attitude. I went into the fight with the wrong mindset, and I went into the fight basically mentally just rock bottom, I guess you could say, with things outside of fighting as well. There was 3 aspects, but then 3 aspects were mental aspects. Because I feel like physically, the best I've ever felt. The weight cut was probably one of the better weight cuts I'd done, and yeah, you know, everything lined up for that fight, and everything was perfect except for like my mindset in the fight. I've had, like you said earlier, I've had 19 fights, professional fights, you know. 17 of them fights I've gone in to win.
Yeah.
And I believe that 2 of them fights I've gone in to fight. You know, and to be completely honest, the mindset of Aljamain Sterling and Pedro Munhoz was slightly different again. With Aljamain, I was dead certain that I was going to knock him out. Just clean as day, first round, yep, this was going to be it. Not that I've ever done that before. But I was certain there was going to be that fight, and obviously went in there with the complete mindset. My timing was off, I was throwing shots, I was missing by a long way. I was getting held on the fence for too long. Not that I was getting taken down from the fence, but I was getting held then. Like I said, I will say, between the 2 losses, between Pedro and Aljamain, I feel like that Pedro is a better fighter. Now this is 2 separate things. So I felt like Pedro was a better fighter, but I felt like Aljamain was the better mixed martial artist. There's 2 different sort of aspects. Like, you would not like to fight Pedro Munhoz in a dark alley in Swansea. You don't want that to happen. Aljamain, you could cope with that, you know what I mean? Yeah, he's going to beat you, but he's not going to hurt you like Pedro. And with Pedro, and I remember speaking to a few guys I was with at the time, and I was going in, and people were interviewing me, and I was going, this is going to be a fight. And they were like, what do you mean? I said, no, this is going to be one of the best fights that you're going to see on the night. And technically I was right, you know, but that's another reason I went into that fight not to win. Not to lose, but not to win, you know. Okay. I went in it to fight, and I changed that mindset up after that fight then, having such a bad year in 2018 and having to change things up. Kind of got back to my old way of fighting, you know.
No, of course, yeah. You just mentioned it now. I know there was a point in your life, is in 2018, where you were doubting yourself, right, if you wanted to carry on with mixed martial arts. How did you overcome that? I
can tell you the actual day that I started thinking like that, really. You know, it was I did a Polaris grappling competition for a bit of I wouldn't say a bit of a joke, because it wasn't a bit of a joke. It was more to do with just competing. You know, I felt like I'd lost in the April. I'd had one hell of a fight in August, and you know that knocked me back a good 2 or 3 months, as in to get back to normal. Yeah. So I thought I'd take a grappling fight that completely and utterly just underestimated the whole situation. For me, it was just a bit of fun, a bit of grappling. Yeah. But for the guy I was fighting, this was his job, and this was him trying to win. And I ruptured my MCL on my right leg, and I kind of was walking on Cardiff afterwards with a bit of a limp on, my knee swollen. And I kind of sat there and thought, I've had 3 sort of contests this year, I lost every single one. Losing for me, and especially before that year, so at the end of 2017, a year ago, a year before that moment, I was 15-0, 13th in the world, just come off the biggest win in my life, just won a bonus, everything was perfect. Yeah. And then within 12 months, I'd lost my next 2 fights. I'd lost a grappling fight, and I was injured, and I was overweight. Because even the Polaris fight, I remember 2 weeks before the actual fight, I was going, I better check my weight. It's 2 weeks before the fight, I better check it. Jumping the scales 5 kilos over, and I thought, this is for a grappling competition. If this was a professional MMA bout, I'd probably cut the weight, but it was a grappling competition. I thought, oh no, here we go. I'm a 5 kilos, 6 kilos overweight. And I cut the weight the completely most unprofessional way of doing it, which was like not eating probably about maybe 500 calories a day and just all the way into the fight. I made the weight, but and not that the performance affected me, because I didn't get into the fight enough for it to affect me. 40 seconds in and got heel hooked, and it was an eye opener. So 20 and I thought, oh, don't worry, 2018 was a bad year, and I always say we'll just look forward to next year. And then 2019, in my opinion, was worse. I think losing 2 fights in 2018 and then not fighting at all 2019. There's 2 ways of looking at it. People say, yeah, but you lost 2 times. Yeah, but I didn't compete in 2019. I was looking for fights, and I ruptured my MCL in that December in Polaris in 2018. Coming into 2019, I thought, well, I'll start the year, and that healed really quickly. Come straight back in, and then the beginning of February, I was in a grappling class, and I was rolling with my cousin, and I put my leg in for like a butterfly hook, and tried to kick it out. My knee went bang. It wasn't like a pop, it was a bang. I found out then that my LCL on my left leg had ruptured, And that was just completely, like, I'm not an injury prone person, I don't feel like, but I was in and it was so simple. There was no restriction, didn't hurt, just went. And so within like 2 months, I did my MCL on my right leg and my LCL on my left leg. So I had to pull out the scheduled fight they had me for, which was meant to be Eddie Wineland in Nashville in the March. Had to pull out of that, and then I think for the next like 2 or 3 months, that's when, not that I didn't, obviously, because everybody knows me, I don't stop training. I might say, even if I quit right now, I'd probably still train, you know what I mean? Yeah. And I was training every single day, but I was going out every single weekend, and I always train, no matter what, I've always been like that. I've never, like, I hate taking days off. So I'd had obviously the injury, got over the injury, was training bit by bit, but putting on some weight. And I think it was about May time, my brother said, look, I think we need to go away for a while. And I'm like, what do you mean? He said, and I didn't see it, but my brother was like, look, I think you're in a bad way. I think you're training loads, which is good, but you're going on the weekend, which is good for your social life, which is, the social aspect of being back with your friends is good. But career-wise, I don't think you're in a good place. And I argued with him about it, and my sponsors, who the majority of them are still with me now to this day, they really did help me back then. And we paid for a 3-week trip in Vegas just for the rehab side of things. And I come back and then realised the hurdle I just got over. It was one of the moments where I realised that after the 3 weeks in Vegas that I was in a very bad way, mentally and with the whole sport, And then the next few months I was looking to fight and not having the right fight. And then we were scheduled to fight in November in Sao Paulo. We got offered a contract for Renan Barão, which is a huge fight, for me as champion. Not that I wanted to go to Brazil, but that was when they said, and I said, okay, we'll do it. And it ended up that Renan Barão wanted to go 145, and that option kind of disappeared. I did another little grappling competition in November because I wanted to. I was scheduled a UFC fight in 2020 January against Tony Gravely. And then I think it was like 3 weeks before there was an adrenaline show in November. I wanted to sit there and I wanted to go, right, okay, I didn't want to go into the next camp sitting on 3 losses. I wanted to do something that I could be like, that's a win. So now I got a little bit of confidence going into the camp, and I did a grappling competition in Ponta da Wale Centre with a few of the guys fought on the card, and I won my grappling competition against a good up and coming grappler, and But there was a very good way of starting my camp, and then obviously went into that camp for the Tony Gravely fight then for 2020.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. You obviously touched on there, like with your mindset. Is there anything that you did to actually change your mindset in a way? Like, did you read any books, or like what made you change your mindset?
If anybody does know me, then I'm not a big reader. I'm not like, you know, I wasn't very intelligent in school to read books anyway. But there was one thing that I can notice, and it did change a bit of my mindset. And I'm not a big reader. I'm not a big thing on podcasts. I don't like listening to podcasts. I watch a lot of TV and films. I enjoy doing that. But there was one particular podcast and the reason why I wanted to listen to it was because of this fighter that I followed was on there, and his mindset and the way he trains, I feel like it's very similar to me, and I like the way his attitude is with the sport. And it was the Joe Rogan podcast from Michael Chandler, and I thought, you know, I'm gonna have a listen here. And he went through a very similar sort of process to me, where he was a champion, undefeated, and then lost one fight, and then took another fight and lost that, and then took the same fight again, a rematch for the second fight, and lost that. And he said he went through like it was I think it was something like 600 odd days without a win. Now that's the way I think of it, and then that's why after the Tony Gravely fight I was like, it's been 700 odd days since because I was counting, you know. And I like listening to people who have been in this very similar situation to me, where the people thought that, you know, that I was going to be this guy, the next big thing, and then, you know, to me I wasn't, but like to everybody else who was around me, they were trying to push you up, and obviously having them losses, people kind of write you off subconsciously as well, and especially because of it's just with the boxing, with MMA, I think once people have a loss, they think that's it, this job done, you know. But I always had faith. I've always had faith that I got plenty left, and I still do have plenty left, you know. I think in my mind, I've got another 6 years left, you know, especially with the way I think as well. I'm watching these up-and-coming fighters coming through, and it's nice to give some advice, because, you know, like, not that they have to follow it. Anybody that's doing this sport, they're in there for themselves, and you got to write your own path, you know. But I can try and help you. I can try and say some things, you know. And looking back now at the time, watching that Michael Chandler sort of podcast, it made me change some things up the way I was thinking, and seeing what he had to do and copying the similar sort of process he did, and it put me in a better frame of mind, really, you know.
I love that. No, and people listening, like when Brett says, obviously he lost against Pedro and Aljamain, like it was decision losses. Like he went 3 rounds with these beasts, you know, like, and it was phenomenal fights to watch. What's been like the greatest achievement you've had in your career so far? What would you say?
Probably, I've got favourites to everything. So favourite fights, got favourite moments. The biggest achievement though would be the 2 fights in one night in Cage Warriors. You know, that was like one of them moments where I was like, oh, that was fun. Let's never do that again. You know, I fought a guy called David Hagstrom, who was the favourite to win it. Managed to beat him over 3 rounds, and after him soccer kicking me in the stomach in the end of the first round, which I'll say to this day, and I'll say in front of anybody, I'd probably say by the bell there. And then going into another 5-5 fight afterwards and winning by split decision. And I didn't particularly like the performances. I liked the Hagstrom performance more than I liked the Jordan Desmond performance. But fighting twice in one night and doing 40 minutes of fighting was now looking back now, it was one of them moments where it was like, wow, that was difficult, you know. And the whole thing going into that, the camp itself and everything was grueling, and it's one of the moments which I'm happy I've done it. But anybody that wants to do a tournament, I think you're absolutely crazy, man. It's insane, you know. And I remember trying to sleep backstage, and I just couldn't, man. You know, the buzz after winning a fight. I can't sleep anyway, you know. But after that fight, I wanted to get like an hour where I got my head done and went into the final fight, but that didn't happen. There was loads of different things, but crying my eyes out after the first fight in an empty changing room in the Motorpoint Arena, and then realising, oh, I got to fight again now in about an hour and a half. But this one's for a world title. Wow. Mentally, it can be quite daunting, you know. And but no, it was fun. It was one of the moments, and like Cage Warriors, all fairness, took a risk. I was an outsider and took a risk putting me in there, and thankfully it paid off, and to do it in Wales was a big tick as well, you know.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously you've signed to Bellator now. A lot of people were kind of like, whoa, like he's gone from UFC to Bellator. What was like the primary reason for that?
To be honest, they offered me a fight for the 7th of November, and Jack was actually on the same card. Jack Shaw was a teammate of mine. He was on the same card, and it just worked out well. You know what I mean? I thought, we're both on the same card. We're both training camp together. Everything was perfect. And all fairness, I've done 2 camps in SMMA, and they've both been spot on completely. They offered me Ronnie Barsoles, which is a tough fight for anybody in that weight, and I think a couple of guys had turned that fight down, and I was like, look, I'll do it. You know, I wasn't naive. I knew it was going to be a tough fight, because I do believe that Ronnie Barsoles will be in the top 5 within 6-7 months. You know what I mean? So I was like, right, okay, you know, I'll do it, but it's going to be a tough one. And then obviously my contract come to an end with the UFC at that time, and the figure they'd offered was what wasn't what I was looking for. And I approached the UFC, and like obviously my manager was working his thing as well, and we'd come up with figures of certain fighters, because it's no secret. You can find out what people get paid in mixed martial arts, and I was going off the same sort of pay as certain fighters in the division that have had the same amount of fights as me. So that's what I was going for, and I was asking for the same, not more, not less. I was asking for the same, and if they paid me the same, maybe a little bit less, I was happy to sign on. But they were off by a long way. You know what I mean? They were off by an annual wage. They were off by, you know what I mean? It was a lot, like, you know. Yeah. And although this sport is all done for the fun of it and the enjoyment, that, you know, I've got a house I need to pay for, and I'm in a position now, obviously, where that can be paid off within a year or maybe 2 years, you know. But the whole thing with Bellator, and you know, they're one of the most prestigious MMA companies out there. You know, the UFC is well known, it's popular. That's why everybody knows the UFC. And but obviously now with all the cuts going on and with all different fighters going to different places, it's only going to get more popular, you know. And so it was a funny story. And so I phoned my manager up, and I said, he said, oh, this is what the UFC are offering. And I was like, right, okay, I'm not particularly happy with that. And they were like, right, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I'm a free agent. You know, I'm not under contract with UFC no more. I've done my fights, I've done my time. And I felt like I was a good company man, you know. I went in there and did everything they wanted me to do, and did the fights they wanted me to do. The only fight I ever turned down was a fight with Pedro Munhoz in the February of 2018. And I said that was too early after Christmas. They said, all right, what about Aljamain in April? And I had the Aljamain fight, and then they offered me Pedro for the second time, and I said yes. You know, they gave me time for it, and I was like, yeah, I'm happy to do that. That was the only time. So I felt like I was a good company man with them, and I just wanted to see what other offers there. And Brian Butler, my manager, instantly said, well, what about Bellator? You know, he's got a good relationship with Bellator. Bellator treat their fighters really well, and there's obviously pros and cons in there. There's no fight the night performance bonuses, but that wasn't what I was looking for anyway. You know, I was looking for a company that I could build myself and work with, and so at 11 o'clock, he says, look, I'll send a message out. We should get a reply in 24 hours. So this is 11 o'clock one of the nights. And by 11:30, we had a response, a figure, and basically yes or no. So I didn't answer yes. I didn't answer straight away. Obviously, I'm not that naive. I wanted to go through everything. And the next day, I had to sit down with my family as well, because they're part of the story. And we all agreed. We all agreed that it was the right decision. Not one person in my circle of people said that staying with the UFC was a good idea. And I think I asked the opinion on 20 people who are in my inner circle, and they all said the same. You know, it's the difference is double, put it that way. You know, it's a lot. And in this game, it's a lot of money. You know, and obviously coming into the promotion off 2 wins as well, which is really, really good. I feel like I've got a little bit of momentum behind me, but now it's a different set of animals I've got to deal with. You know, it's been amazing being in that UFC sort of pool and fighting the better guys in the division, but now it's a different pool I need to be in, and we'll see if we can sink or swim.
No, for sure. Like, I feel like Bellator, like, them signing you is huge for them, because I've had the opportunity to train with you, for you to coach me, and you're incredible. You're incredible, and I really think that you're going to go to the top, like, real quick. And obviously you're joining the bantamweight division.
Yeah.
And I got to ask you this. It'll be rude not to. There's a fighter that I do enjoy, like, to watch. Like, his fights are really good and he's really entertaining. But what about you fighting James Gallagher?
Oh, that's the interview done. That's the no, to be honest, there's not one guy in that division where I would not fight. You know, the only way I wouldn't fight a certain person in that division if they were teammates, and that's it. You know, so the Gallagher fight interests me because a lot of people, as soon as I signed, they were like, James Gallagher, that's the name you want. And to be honest, there's about 5 or 6 names in that division which I do want. The Gallagher name, yeah, of course I'd want that fight. Who wouldn't want that fight? It's I rate him. I think he's an exceptional fighter. I really do. I think a lot of people write him off, and I think that's where the first mistake lies, is by writing him off. And for me personally, I've never written him off. I feel like he's an exceptional grappler, very good MMA grappler. Trains very hard. Trains in one of the best gyms in the world. He's got good coaching staff behind him. You know, but the fight does intrigue me. It does, and it's a fight where I'd be happy to fight him. But I feel like that's, and like I said this in a previous interview before, I think that fight is a fight which we want like a crowd. We want a good sort of atmosphere there. So there was a list of names that I wanted. But then looking at the rankings, I realised that I'd probably have to get a few wins to get where I wanted to go. So obviously the top 3 at the minute, which is Juan Archuleta, who's the champ. Juan Archuleta is a big guy, you know. I mean, is he going to be at bantamweight for long? I'm not sure. Maybe not. I'm not really sure. But then you've got the next couple of guys, which is the Patchy Mixes, the James Gallaghers, the Sergio Pettis. They're the names I want, really. But having said that, they've dropped me in at number 8. And also they signed a Russian guy, Magomedov, the Tiger. Brilliant fighter. I think his record was like 16, 17 and 1. Only lost Petr Yan.
Yeah.
But then again, he fought Petr Yan twice, beat him once, lost him once.
Wow.
So it's Petr Yan's first loss, and it's Magomedov's first loss. That's another fight that intrigues me, you know. I mean, these are the guys I want to fight, though, you know. I think it would kill me to go through my career and see these amazing fighters and not being able to fight any of them, and being kind of like on the background fighting not the who's, you know, you want to fight the who's who, you want to fight the bad guys, you know. Yeah. But yeah, the Gallagher fight intrigues me. Being called out by Brian Moore, I say being called out, you know, all fairness, someone put up more about Brian Moore, and I said, yeah, if the Bellator wanted me to do the Brian Moore fight, I'd be happy. Brian Moore's one of them guys, and all fairness to him, I always see him online, and he's always saying like, well, who wants to fight, you know? So I'm one of them guys as well, and I know he's tough as they come, and it'd be cool to set that fight up for February, March. Brian Moore, that would be good, you know. The guy's only lost against legit guys, and I'm intrigued. That would be really good. But I see the Gallagher fight happening, but not for another maybe 2 or 3 fights, definitely.
Incredible. And obviously in the beginning of the podcast, you mentioned, like, you know, 2020, it's actually been a good year for you for training, right? I know that you train at Show Mixed Martial Arts, and you train alongside some killers like, you know, Jack the Tank Shaw, obviously. What's that been like for you?
I'll be honest, I think obviously moving to Show MMA in I think at the end of February it was. The actual initial process behind it was to help Jack with his up-and-coming fight, which was for UFC London, which was cancelled because of COVID-19. That was the main goal. And then I think my original move was to go to Vegas, but then actually being up in Abertillery, which is only an hour and a half away. I think Las Vegas is a bit further away than Abertillery. So and like being home as well, you know, I'm a bit of a home bird. I would have gone out there, probably would have struggled, but I would have gone out there if it meant going to Vegas. But sitting down with the coaching staff at Show MMA and seeing the list of fighters, like, you know, one round you're fighting a guy who's a fellow UFC competitor. The next one you're fighting a guy who's a world title challenger. Then you're fighting up and coming prospects for Cage Warriors and so on. And I you know, like, and what scares me most is that the amateurs, who are the guys coming through the ranks, the youngsters, they got more talent again. You know, these guys who are coming into the sport now, they're incredible, and it's nice for me because I've got my training partners now, but it's also good knowing that the up-and-comers who are coming here, who will eventually be my training partners, they're looking brilliant as well, you know. And I'm very lucky. I've got a good coaching staff behind me. I've got about maybe 5 or 6 coaches who I work well with, like James Wallace and Pat Albert from my kickboxing. worked loads with James for the Tony Gravely fight, and it was just a bit of a shame that I didn't get to display that, because I felt like I was looking really well at the time. Also working with Darren Wilson. I've worked with Darren Wilson for a very long time, probably about 3 years now, and one of the funniest guys you could possibly meet, and just a good coach. And, you know, all fairness to Darren, if, you know, I'll ask him, Darren, can you do a session with me? He'll do it on a drop of a hat. You know, he's a great guy. Also working with him up in SMMA on the Muay Thai side of things. And then working with my 2 MMA coaches, which is Carl Parker with the wrestling side of things, and being a good wrestler and working with Carl Parker. We just work hand in hand. And then the main MMA coach, which is Shaky, and obviously having experience with Jack and Jack Shaw, Jack Marshman. You know, he's been on the scene for a very long time and won titles himself. Yeah. But they could have back in the beginning of the year, they could have said, oh look, you know, you're on the UFC, Jack's in the UFC, it's a bit of a conflict there. But they didn't. They took me in with open arms, and it's been brilliant. The year itself of training has probably been the best year of my life. So even if I didn't fight this year, it still wouldn't have been a bad year. I don't feel like, you know, obviously on the fighting side of things, it would have been a bit disappointing, but the improvements in my game, and obviously going into Fight Island with my first fight under SMA, I definitely feel like I didn't show everything I wanted to show. And all fairness to Carl and Shaky, they turned around after the fight and said they were really happy with the performance. You know, obviously a fight's a fight, anything can happen. Again, dropping that first round by Montel, putting me down, and then obviously I got to get back up, and I'm a round down. I just followed the game plan that Shaky and Carl kind of said to me, look, you know, you need to wrestle this guy, get him against the fence, work him a bit. He's, you know, obviously he was a tricky character. He had some things with the grip, and yeah, we just got through the fight, but they were happy. They gave me a game plan, and I had the belief to stick to the game plan, and it got me through the fight. So we work well as a team, you know, and obviously working with Jack, you know, me and Jack at the minute, like, we just feel like we're just bouncing off each other, and it's good, because there's 2 ways that could have gone. It could have gone the way that me and Jack I put it now, or it could have gone away. The ego would have kicked in and stuff. But like, Jack is one of the nicest guys you'll possibly meet in mixed martial arts. You know, he's a great guy, and not only that, he's a good training partner. And the atmosphere up there at the minute is absolutely booming. You know, it'd just be nice to get back to the full swing of things, get the full amateur team in. Obviously, with the COVID-19, it's been quite tough on Shaky in the gym. But yeah, the atmosphere itself has been absolutely amazing, and like I said, that mental sort of thing in 2018 and 2019, that's gone now, and I feel like I'm back to normal. And I feel like, you know, obviously with that last fight, I didn't get to show everything I wanted to show, so I feel like I'm still waiting for that debut fight with Show MMA. Although I've had it, you haven't seen the full Brett Johns, and that's what I'm excited to show.
Hopefully we'll see that soon. I was reading a book. It's called Atomic Habits. Aiden James actually told me to read it, but in there it says that when people build habits, things can become really repetitive. And obviously, I know this is your job, you know, fighting, but obviously I can imagine like it can get really repetitive doing the same thing, you know, every single day. How do you still, you know, come to the gym? Like, do you have days where you just like, I don't want to do this, you know?
Yeah, I think like, especially like November time this year, and the simple reason was because it wasn't because of the guys I'm training with, it's not because of the atmosphere, it's not because of the gyms, it was just because of I was in a 15-week camp and didn't have my end goal there, which was a fight, you know. It kind of didn't work. I wanted to get a fight in before the end of 2020. Didn't happen. That's absolutely fine, you know. But at that point, towards like at the end of a long camp, it was a bit like, oh, I just want to get it over and done with now, you know. Didn't happen, so obviously that frustration was obviously leading into December. But it is what it is, you know. This is fighting. Some things work, some things don't work. But my whole career, I've kind of been like that. I don't like missing. I don't think I've taken a full week off training since 2012. You know, a full week off where I haven't trained for a week, you know. Other than about maybe 2 weeks ago, I had 7 days off then, but that was it, you know. That was because of obviously, you know, the COVID-19 situation with myself. But yeah, you know, but everything can be repetitive. And with me, especially early on in my career, I've had a big, massive problem with weight cutting, with losing weight, trying to get to the 61 kilo, the 135 pound mark. And I watched a documentary actually, and you're on about being repetitive and stuff. I watched a documentary on BBC One about Freddie Flintoff living with bulimia. And it was just really interesting to watch, obviously, his mindset with things, and I didn't realise he'd suffered with the actual illness himself, you know. But I've definitely had tendencies where there's been like food disorders there because of the way of cutting weight years ago, and you know, now I feel like I'm getting a handle on it, but it's taken me 12 years to do that. You know, it's been, you know, the last couple of times I've cut weight, I've looked in incredible shape, you know, and worked really hard to get the position, and lockdown has only helped that for me. I've been able to change the body structure of myself during lockdown, which I'm really happy with. Whether or not that would have happened if lockdown didn't happen, I don't think it would have. You know, being in the house, and then what can I do today? I was expecting to fight in April. We got locked down at the end of March, and I was like, what can I do for training? So I'd run 10 miles, you know. I just, and I looked, and I felt like it was the best shape of my life, and I felt really good for it. But yeah, I had a problem with weight cutting, you know, and and it's easy for me to say that now, because certain things with like, there's tendencies. So one of my tendencies would be if I'd eaten something that wasn't very good, I'd have to do a piece of exercise afterwards. It was something I had to do. Okay. And I didn't realise that's a problem, but apparently that is a problem. That's some sort of like food disorder, you know. And yeah, so you're on about tendencies. I do eat the same. Once I'm in camp, I eat the same meals every day. No problems. Yeah. Don't have cheat days. Don't believe to have cheat days. And it doesn't bother me not having cheat days. I think a lot of people be like, oh, I got to have my cheat day. But for me, I just feel like my end goal is to make 135. So having a cheat, which can be good for you, it can be beneficial, but having a cheat for me puts you back a step, you know, and I don't want to be put back a step. I want to keep going. And the last 2 times, I felt like I've been probably the best shape of my life, you know, going into that imaginary fight in November, I was in good shape, and then going into Fight Island, I was in good shape, and I feel like now I've managed to get over that little hurdle of having them tendencies I used to have when cutting weight, and now having these new sort of like tendencies, you know, which is making me more professional choices, and cutting weight more professionally.
No, that's brilliant. Yeah, like you said, like having an end goal is important, like mentally as well, because you got something to work towards. But when people don't have goals and stuff, it's difficult for them to stick to what they're doing, isn't it?
100%. Like even for me, like, you know, like why am I not dieting now? The reason why I'm not dieting now is because I got no end goal, and like. Yeah. I say not dieting, I'm eating more sensibly. Obviously with Christmas time and being relaxed, you are going to naturally put on weight. But like when I'm out of camp, then you could say, and I say out of camp because I'm not really out of camp, but I'm out of like fight camp. You know, it's hard to keep a rock solid diet going. But once you've got that end goal, it's easier to do things, and you know, it's easier to cut weight. It's easier to get up in the morning and go for a run, because you know that your opponent might be doing that. You know, okay, you've got to get up and go for a run. You know, going into camp now, I'll probably train, you know, twice a day to 3 times a day on certain days, you know, so that'll be it. And to do that right now just sounds so daunting, you know, but like, I know once I get a name, I'm going to want to do that, you know. So yeah, it is important to give yourself end goals, and also in this game, other distractions, you know, to be committed 24/7 to this sport can be very, very difficult, you know.
Yeah, well, you mentioned other distractions. What other things do you do? Like, do you have any other hobbies that?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who obviously follow me on social media will know. Like, I enjoy a couple of things really. I enjoy coaching. Coaching's a big thing for me. Like helping the next generation of fighters get where they want to go. And for me, and this is the best thing. Like, I got respect for someone if they just want to go in there once, or if they want to go in there for a whole lifetime. It doesn't bother me. You know, I think anybody that steps foot in that environment. And it's very, very, very scary. And if you're able to do that, and if you're lucky enough, if you might win, you know what I mean? It'd be brilliant then. And some people stay, some people don't. But like, I always say to the guys, you know, whether you want to do this for one fight, because my job is to make you accomplish the dreams you want to accomplish, you know what I mean? So like, there's a couple of guys in the gym right now who like we're on about ceilings. Like, someone's ceiling is the UFC, but someone else's ceiling is just to win a fight, you know. And a lot of guys who I surround myself with think the similar sort of way as me now. They kind of, you know, they think of the smaller goals and achieving them and going, right, after that, what's next? Yeah. Rather than being like this, that, trying to get to the end goal. It's really difficult, but at least once you hit your goal, poof, it's a feeling of accomplishment. Oh, I've done that now. Now we can, you know, then it's okay to go, but as long as you enjoy the moment. And you know, it's I enjoy coaching. That's one. Like I said, you can look at my social media. I love fashion. One of the especially in particular football casual fashion, which is like the Italian clothing, Adidas original trainers and stuff like that. I enjoy that because of the environment with the football. I love that, which is like you could say it's sort of like a hobby, spending money on clothes, because it is my hobby. And lastly, it's like I enjoy motor racing, which is one that people like get a bit like whoa. But I've done a bit of motor racing back in 2017. I raced in Pembrey in March, July, and December. I did the first 2 races in a 106 1400, and then I did the one in December in my Subaru Impreza. And then kind of after the 2017, I just went into my next little thing, which was which basically I put the racing to the side for a while, and then obviously I'm looking to get back into it now. So for people that don't know, but I've applied for a different sort of racing style. So this is called Rallycross, which is the BTRDA Clubman's Championship. So I've entered the championship for this year. There's 6 rounds. This is only like a tester, dip our feet in the water, because it's a different style of racing, which is something I haven't done before. So that's all we need now really is the car, and then we'll be able to apply for the championship. But I'm hoping to get the 2 rounds in. There's a double header in Pembrey in, I think it's July, maybe August. I'm hoping to get on that. So we'll see whether or not we'll be able to do that. Obviously, I don't think the gaffer Richard Shaw will be happy about it, but yeah, it's something I do. Like I said, it's something to take your mind off it, because committing, and that's not just for fighting. That could be for anything. If you commit 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for one single thing, it can be overwhelming. So so obviously that's like the big thing for me at the minute is obviously setting up my own little race team.
Nice.
So obviously now I'll be looking for sponsors for my fight career, but also looking for sponsors for my race career as well. So, but we'll see.
What is it about the racing like? Because I was a bit shocked when you said that.
Yeah.
Is it like the adrenaline, or what? Or is it just you just enjoy doing it?
You'd think I'd have enough of adrenaline rush for my job, but like I said, I've always been interested in motorsport, in particular, not like circuit racing or F1, more like rallying. And the last few years, one of my idols is a guy called Peter Solberg, who was the 2003 World Rally Champion. He was a Norwegian driver with a Welsh co-driver, and I was just fascinated the way he was. And then he only won the one World Rally Championship, and then kind of didn't sign on with Subaru, didn't sign on after that, because Subaru was a big thing for me as well. And eventually then he went over to Rallycross, and he was the first guy to win a World Rally Championship and a World Rallycross Championship. And the whole Rallycross situation and rallying, with rallying you get a co-driver and you go through forestry. Rallycross is like a circuit, but it's like part tarmac, part gravel. There could be up to 8 of you on a racetrack, and you've got a joker lap you have to take at least once. It's so, and it's hectic, it's crazy. But I've spoken to a few guys. I've spoken to the guys at the BTRDA, and they're excited. Obviously, it's a different sort of thing, and not many people know about it, but it's good. So at least now I've got a few friends who are like they own garages, and I feel like they would have liked to have sponsored me in mixed martial arts, but I'm very realistic towards my sponsors. If I feel like you're not going to benefit from it, I'll tell you to obviously sponsor other people who you would benefit from. But at least now with my friends who own garages and own tyre garages and stuff, this is one way that they're able to sponsor me, and it'd be good. It's not an expensive style of motorsport, and I'm not going to be driving a flash car. To be honest, we boiled it down to maybe a Citroen Saxo or a Citroen C2 or maybe a Ford Fiesta, but it's a 1600 16 valve, so that's the category. You can't mechanically touch the engine. You can change the suspension, the wheels and stuff. But I watched Top Gear years ago, and they did it.
Oh, nice.
So that was an inspiration of trying to get it done, and it was one of the cheaper forms of doing it. So for you.
Oh, it's brilliant that you have other hobbies as well, especially from fighting. But thank you so much for being on the podcast, Brett. I really think that a lot of people just listening to you will gain so much value from you, because when I've been there, like in training and stuff like that, and when you're in the room, like everyone else, like whoa, like it's crazy to see you train, because you never give up, you never back down. You are an uncommon person. That's what I call an uncommon person. You have an uncommon mindset. But thank you so much. What I'll do, guys, I'll put Brett's social media down below.
For sure.
go and check him out. He'll be fighting in 2021, hopefully. You know, in Bellator, he's going to make it to the top for sure, like hands down. I know he will. But yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, man. Thank you very much. Thank you. Cheers.
Thank you.